Okay, okay. So, are you able to see the? Okay, so let's start the class. Uh, Yesterday we were discussing about Sales of Goods Act Part One. We covered, and after that we started the unit of Sales of Goods Act Part Two, and here we discussed what is a transfer of title, what is called as a title. I mean, the possessor of the goods can give a better title of the goods. Okay, so let's move on from there. So we'll start from the performance of the contract. Okay, so let's see the section according to section 31 provides that it is the duty of the seller to deliver the goods and of the uh, buyer to accept and pay for them. Okay, in accordance with the terms and terms of the contract of sale. Okay, the seller has to deliver the goods and the buyer has to accept and pay for them. Okay, so with respect to delivery, we have certain things the mode of delivery is stated in section 33 in these terms. Okay, and delivery of goods may be made by doing anything to which the parties agrees shall be taken as delivery. Okay, when they agree upon certain terms and conditions, it will be uh, called as delivery. Okay, and there are certain rules to the delivery. Okay, whereas we'll be looking at the place of the delivery, time of the delivery, all these things will be specified initially. Whereas place of the delivery will be mentioned, how the how the buyer to takes possession of the goods or for the seller to send them in a question that depends on the intention of the parties as expressed in their contract. Okay, whatever is expressed in their contract as per the terms and condition, the place of the delivery will be decided and time of the delivery will be decided, and delivery by atonement in a sense, it's like attainment uh, of the goods. I mean, in case if the goods is in with the possession of the third party, that the third party has to acknowledge that he has to deliver unless and until such third party acknowledges, uh, and he has to deliver. Okay, this is with respect to the when goods is with the third party. And apart from that, the next one is time for tender of delivery. In a sense, the tender of delivery, in a sense, there has to be a reasonable time, a reasonable hour mentioned during the day. I mean, they cannot go and deliver it, on like late night and all. So there has to be a reasonable hour for that, as per the demand. Okay, and expense of delivery, and this will deal with who will be bearing the expense with respect to the delivery expenses. Okay, and next one is in this regard, they'll be having certain rights of unpaid seller against goods. Okay, a contract is comprised of reciprocal promises in a contract of sale. So there will be contract from both the sides. I mean, promises from both the sides. If a seller is under an obligation to deliver goods, even the buyer has to pay for it. And in case buyer fails or refuses to pay, the seller as unpaid seller shall have certain rights. Okay, the seller will be having certain rights in case if we don't get the payment from the buyer. Okay, in this regard, we'll also see that in this regard, he has certain rights as you know the unpaid seller is entitled to possession until payment. Okay, he can retain the goods. He'll be taking possession of the goods. He can until the payments, until the dues will be settled. Okay, until that goods will be with the unpaid seller. And also next one, he also have the right to stoppage in transit in case the goods is in transition. I mean it's going from suppose if the goods is with the third party, he can tell the third party to stop the transition. Okay, and not make the delivery to the buyer. Okay, so we have the right to stop in transit in case if he is unpaid for the goods he is going to deliver. Okay, and right of resale, and again that will happen where there are it depends on the type of transaction. Whereas sometimes the after delivery the payment can be made. In that cases, I mean, stoppage in transit will not be possible. It will not be practical because the goods will be already delivered. So based on that, I mean, there will be certain other remedies available in the court of law where they can make use of it, accordingly. So next one is right to resale. Even the seller have the right to retain or take possession of the goods back, and he have the right to resale in case if he doesn't get the payment from the buyer. Okay, and other remedies for the breach of contract. So there are other remedies for the breach of contract, whereas they can sue for prices. Okay, they can sue in the court of law for the recovery of the prices. And also for the next one is damages for non-acceptance. So if there are any damages suffered by the seller, uh, that will also be recovered. Okay, through for non-acceptance, in case the seller suffers any losses, they can be recovered. Okay, and the next one is buyer's remedies against seller. Even the buyer has certain remedies against the sellers. Okay, so when it comes to the buyers, he can also claim for damages for non-deliveries. The same thing happens. I mean, in case if the buyer, because of the negligence or non-delivery of the goods by the seller, if the buyer suffers any losses, he can claim for the damages from the seller. Okay, and also remedy for breach of warranty in case if the goods doesn't meet the requirement. If there is any breach of warranty on the product, uh, that can also be, I mean, he can also claim for that. The buyer can claim from the seller. So this remedy is available. Okay, and the next one is specific performance. In case if the goods doesn't meet the required standards, again I'm saying, based on the specific performance for what it is meant. Okay, if it is not satisfying the basic requirements or of the performance, that is expected from that goods. If it is failing to meet that performance requirement, in that case, he can also uh, he have the remedy against the seller. Okay, so next one, we'll move on to the next unit, Indian Partnership Act 1932. Whereas partnership is the relationship between persons. So in this next unit, we'll focus on Indian Partnership Act 1932. Okay, whereas partnership is the relationship between persons. I think you commonly know what partnership. I mean the general meaning. I think everybody will be knowing that what partnership means. And in the eyes of law, partnership is the relationship between persons who have agreed to share the profit. Okay, share the profit of a business carried on by all or any of them. Okay, it could be carried on by all of them or anyone representing for all. Okay, anyone acting for all. Okay, according to section 4. So it therefore follows that a partnership consists of three essential elements. So there are three essential elements for this. Okay, and based on that, the partnership, it must be a result of an agreement between two or more persons. So there has to be an agreement between two or more persons. Okay, in that case, it will be called as partnership, and the agreement must be to share the profit of the business. Okay, so there should be an agreement to share the profit of the business. And next one is the business must be carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. As I already told you, that any one person can act on behalf of all the other parties, all the other partners. Okay, so all these essentials must coexist before a partnership can come into force. So these are the basic requirements of a partnership. Okay, for the partnership to come into existence or come into force. Okay, so what are the essential features of the partnership? As we already I explained that agreement. So there has to be agreement. According to Section 5, declares that the relation of partnership arises from contract and not from status. Okay, there should be an agreement of contract between the parties. Okay, it may be too elementary to say that a partnership can arise only by an agreement between the parties. Okay, we cannot say that it has to be partnership has to come to existence. Okay, between the parties concerned, and in so other way, yet the point is important. Okay, it is one of those elements which clearly displays the distinction between a partnership and the other business relationship. Actually, this is a distinction between a partnership and other business relations. For example, there will be a partnership and a joint family system. They will also be family businesses. It's a bit different than this, which I'll explain later. Uh, let's see the deed of partnership. So deed of partnership, in a sense, a partnership agreement is in writing. It is called the deed of partnership. When the agreement is in writing, it's called the deed of partnership. Writing is not prescribed by the Partnership Act, actually, but writing known as instrument of partnership. It is necessary. Why it is necessary to have this deed of partnership is because for the point of view of it is uh, required under the Income Tax Act. Okay, in order to if they have one partner working for them, they can pay the salary to them, and that could be used in the income tax for avoiding, in a sense, taxable income of the firm can be materially reduced. In order to it can be reduced where they'll be paying the salary for the partner also. So these things are required by the Income Tax Act 1961. So next one is business. Next essential element of the partnership is that the parties must have agreed to carry on a business. There must be an agreement to carry on a specific business, and also sharing of profit. Okay, next one is sharing of profit. There should be a sharing of profit, as I already told you, and also the mutual agency should be there. Mutual agency, in a sense, as I already told you, that by all or any one of them acting for all. Okay, anyone can act for all of them. And partnership and joint Hindu family. A joint family carrying on business has some features common with partnership, but Section 5 expressly excludes them from the operation of the Act. The matter on which they differ are more prominent. So there are many aspects in this. Differs. For example, a family cannot be created by contract. Okay, it always arises by operation of law. So family always arises, and it cannot be created by contract. Okay, so there will be naturally for form families are there. So a partnership cannot arise without contract, but partnership cannot be without arise contract. So in this and one more thing, a person becomes the member of the joint family and gets an equal share in assets only if other partners have agreed upon it. Okay, another person can be added into the family business, but it has to be with consent of all the other partners. That's how a new partner can be admitted. Otherwise, a new partner cannot be admitted. Okay. uh, and also the member of the family are not the managers of or karta of the family. Okay, so these are some of the elements with respect to partnership and joint family. Okay, next one is mutual relationship. So I'm going a little bit fast so I can cover as much uh, topics as possible for your basic understanding, so that when you go through the reference books, when you go through the study materials provided by our university, a self-learning material, it will be easy for you to understand the concepts. Okay, so I'm making all this clear for you, and I'm trying to keep the time in mind, and trying to cover as much as possible for your benefits. Okay, so let's see the next thing is duties of partners. So there are certain duties of partners. Okay, duty of good faith. There should be in a good faith. So next one is duty not to compete. So there should not be any competition. They have the duty not to competition, in a sense. One of the partner going out and doing the same business outside, making secret profits and all, but that kind of thing should not be there. Or they are not supposed to compete with their own company, or with the same product, or with the same so there are certain rules laid upon that, towards that. Okay, and the due diligence, in a sense, they have to take due care of it. There should not be any negligence on the part of the parties. Okay, and duty to indemnify for fraud. Okay, they have the duty to indemnify for fraud. Okay, so there should not be any fraudulent actions or activities take place. And indemnity, in a sense, uh, protecting against the loss. So there should be a duty to indemnify for fraud, and a duty to render true accounts, and the account should be furnished, and it has to be true. There should not be any you know malpractices in maintaining the books of accounts. Okay, and proper use of property. The properties should be used properly. Because it's been shared by all the partners, and the person who makes any damages to the property, he'll be liable for uh, strict actions against him. So these are the things. And duty to account for personal profits. So they if they have made any secret account, secret profits under the name of the company, the duty to they have the duty to see that if someone has if one of the partner has done any misleading profits out of the company's account, so he'll be accountable for that. And next one is right of partners. They have the right to take part in business. Okay, so they have the right to take part in business, and majority rights. Majority uh, where any difference arises between the partners with regards to the business of the firm, it shall be determined by the view of the majority of them. So whoever they have the right to express their opinions. Okay, and in view of the majority, they will decide. Okay, and access to books. They should have access to books of accounts, and there should be access to annual reports of the company. So there should be clarity in the books of account. Okay, so right to indemnify, again they have the right to indemnify in case if they have right to get the protection against the loss. Okay, and right to profit, they have a right in the getting the profit according to the section 13b. They have the right towards getting the profit and right to interest, and interests also they have a right and a right to remuneration, so they should get proper remuneration based on the performance or the work entrusted to them. Okay, so next one is we'll see that liability of partners. So in the same way they are also the way they have the rights and the duties, the same way they also have liability in case of any mishap happening from their side. They'll be liable to certain actions under the court of law. Okay, so liability for torts and other wrongs in case they're not supposed to do anything wrong in a sense, and liable of firm for misapplication by partners. Okay, liability of firms for misapplication of by partners. So where liability for holding out, but the principle of holding out in case liability for holding out in a sense. Uh, when one person, maybe a retired person, joins a company by request of the proprietor or the owner of the company, a retired person will be appointed as a to take care of the uh, operations in the company, where in case if the debt has been taken during that time, and because the people like banks and all may have given the loan by looking at him as a representative of the company. In those cases, in if he has retiring, I mean they have to give a proper public notice has to be given. In that case, I mean if they are working, they'll also be liable. Okay, and but it doesn't apply to the following cases where the partner has been deceased or insolvent or dormant partner. Okay, uh, so next one is minor as partner, where the relationship of partnership arises from contract. A minor is incompetent to contract. Actually, this is a basic nothing what the law provides, where a minor is incompetent to contract. So that's why and therefore a contract of partnership cannot be a partnership consisting of all minors. Minors, they cannot enter into a contract among them, or one adult and one minor. If there is one adult and one minor entering into contract, that is also uh, against the Act. Okay, when a minor is admitted to the benefit of a firm, the question arises: what are his rights and liabilities? So the minor will be having certain rights and liabilities. Okay, so I'll just brief you a little bit about what rights and liabilities he'll have. So minor is incompetent to contract. Uh, what are his rights and liabilities? As the right to receive his agreed share of firm. He have the right to receive the agreed share of firm, and he have access and inspect a copy of the accounts also, and gets the share in the property and profit. uh, and also he is liable for his share and profit in case if the company is winding up of or in case the company has debt to repay. In that case, his property and profit will also be liable for the repayment of the company. Okay, but he is not personally liable for any acts of the firm. Okay, and on attaining majority, he has to decide within 6 months whether he wants to be remained with the firm, or whether he wants to leave it. After getting majority, after becoming 18 years, he have within 6 months he have to decide and give notice on that. Okay, whether he wants to, and there are certain uh, rules also associated with it. Okay, so I mean, he can continue to be a partner, or he can reject to continue as a partner. Okay. Okay. Next one is how dissolution of a company occurs. Okay. So in case of dissolution, in Indian Partnership Act, distinguishes between a dissolution of firm and dissolution of a partnership. Okay, and dissolution of firm and dissolution of partnership, according to Section 39, provides that the dissolution of partnership between all the partners of a firm is called the dissolution of a firm. When one or more partner ceases to be a partner of the firm, but other continues the business in partnership, is called dissolution of the partnership. Okay, so this means that Section 39 provides that the dissolution of partnership, in a sense, dissolution of the entire firm, whereas dissolution of partnership is whereas only one or more partners, if they cease to be partners of the firm, only in that case it is called as dissolution of partnership. Okay, when one person or one or more person leaves the organization, it's called dissolution of partnership. Whereas if the entire partnership is been dissolving, in a sense, everybody is agreed upon winding up of the company, in that case, when the company is dissolving, it will be dissolution of firm. Okay, so let's see modes of dissolution. So there are voluntary dissolution by mutual agreement upon the partner, and dissolution by court. So whereas dissolution by court, in a sense, by the act of law, you know um, bestow upon them that they have to dissolve the company. So there will be a court order for dissolving the company. So that may be the cases that certain times the company is incurring continuous losses. In that case, the court may order for the company to dissolve, or they can voluntarily also dissolve the company. If the purpose of the company, the object of the company has been achieved, or due to the death or insolvency of one of the partners, that in that case also, or if they agreed to separate or start a new business of their own, in that case also they will dissolve the partnership. So they'll be voluntarily dissolving the partnership. Okay, so next one is we'll just uh, see that registration of the firm, registration of the partnership firm, there is a procedure for registration, and it's very simple. For registration of the partnership firm, an application to the registrar of the firm of the state in which any place of business of the firm is situated or proposed to be continued. In a sense, an application to the registrar of the firm. He's the uh, concerned person who gives the registration. I mean, who gives the registration letter to the firm, and he's the person. Registrar is the person of the firm who registers the company. So the company, the partnership firm has to give the application, or through their agent, uh, who is authorized on behalf of the partners, they have to file an application and obtain the registration. Okay, and they have to mention the place of the business of the firm, and where they are situated, and also proposed to be continued. In case if the company is already situated or started somewhere, where they have they'll be continuing it, that they have to mention. And the application or statement must be signed by all the partners, or by their agent, specially authorized in this behalf, and must contain the following particulars. Okay, this again you will also go through the same things. I'll also explain in tomorrow's class also, when we discuss about the next block, where will be discussing about, I'll be explaining a briefing about the Companies Act, you know, uh, 2013. In that also I will, how the company will be formed, all those things I'll also be explaining again. So here also I'll be briefing you a little bit the name of the firm that has to be provided, and the place or principal place of business of the firm, where the company decides to start the business, the place of the firm, the name of the firm, and name of any other places where the firm carries on business, where the firm is planning to operate, where its operations will be carried on, where its businesses will be carried on across. Okay, that also they should mention, and the date when each partner joined the firm. So there should be a date clause also, where they have to mention the date and the name in full and permanent address of the partners. So the name has to be their full name, and the permanent address of the partners has to be given, and the duration of the firm should also be given. And there are certain effects of non-registration. So the effects may be that the partners may be unable to sue another partner for non-registration. I mean, the legal actions cannot be easily binding the partners, or binding the third party or outside party with whom the organization is dealing with. Okay, they cannot sue the third party, or whoever the party who has done any unjust, they cannot sue them. Okay, in that case, uh, non-registration will affect. But there are certain remedies, even smaller exceptions for that also. But the non-registration has certain effects, like these are some of the effects of non-registration. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. It is uh, Negotiable Instruments Act. Um, okay, so Negotiable Instruments Act 1881, which came into force on 1st March 1882. Okay, here negotiable instruments, in a sense, the bills of exchange, checks, and promissory notes have been dealt with in considerable details in this act. Okay, so negotiable instruments, in a sense, the bills of exchange, checks, these are called, and promissory notes are called negotiable instruments, as per Instruments Act 1881, which came into force in 1st March 1882. Okay, so the term instrument means any written documents. Okay, it means any written documents. Okay, so a negotiable instrument is a piece of paper which entitles a person to a sum of money, and which is transferable from person to person by mail delivery or by endorsement and delivery. The person to whom it is so transferred becomes entitled to the money and also to the right to further transfer it. In a sense, the negotiable instrument is a piece of paper which entitles a person to a sum of money. Okay, also they'll be entitled to a sum of money. So the person who have this instrument, or they can pass it to the another person. Okay, just by mere delivery or by endorsement, they can also endorse or authorize another person for having it, or taking the taking it, like taking the money. Okay, so the person to whom it is transferred becomes entitled to the money and also to the right to further transfer it. Okay, so the person to whom it is transferred, uh, he becomes entitled to the money and also to the right to further transfer it. Okay, so there are certain kinds of negotiable instruments. Okay, so, Section 13 of the Negotiable Instruments Act 1882 provides that Negotiable instruments include promissory note, bills of exchange, and check, whether payable or bearer or order. By order, or whoever carrying it, the bearer, they have to get paid. Okay, thus, though the section speaks of only three kinds of instrument, it does not means that there cannot be any other negotiable instruments than these three. Okay, these are not the only type of negotiable instruments. There are other type of negotiable instruments also, which will be covered in this unit. Please go through the unit for in-depth understanding of the all of the things. Here I'll just brief you about the what promissory notes. Okay, a promissory note is, according to section 4, a promissory note is an instrument in writing. Okay, this is not being a bank note or a currency note. Okay, it's a promissory note. For example, like fulfilling a promise. Okay, so there will be a note. That's a general example I'm giving, but it is an instrument in writing. Okay, and it containing an unconditional undertaking signed by the maker. Okay, the undertaking, the unconditional undertaking signed by the maker to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person. Okay, the maker is making this note to pay a certain sum of money only to the order, or, for a certain person, or to the bearer of the instrument, whoever carries this instrument to the withdrawal or drawing of check, in a sense of. That in case of businesses, these will be issued from one business to another business house. The essential features of the promissory notes were as follows: in writing and signed, it has to be written and signed by the maker, and it promises to pay, and the promise to pay must be unconditional, and the certain sum only. In a sense, there has to be, the government, in a sense, there has to be, it has the note has to contain that certain sum only. In a sense, a definite amount has to be mentioned for which the payment has to be made. The maker and payee should be certain. Okay, they should be certain about the payment and receivement of the payment. Okay, uh, for the okay. So next is bills of exchange. Bills of exchange, in a sense, section 5 defines a bills of exchange as follows. Uh, okay the essentials of bills of exchange is that to be a valid bill of exchange, an instrument must comply with the requirement of the definition given in section 5, which are as follows. In a sense, uh, it must be in writing, it must contain in order to pay. Okay, in the same way, it must contain in order to pay a more request to pay on account. Okay, which will not amount to an order, but an order may be expressed in polite language. Okay, it has to be in a polite language, and the order to pay must be unconditional. It must be signed by the drawer, and a bill cannot be drawn on two or more drawees. Okay, it cannot be drawn on two or more drawees. Well, may be made payable in alternative to one of two or more payees. Okay, in case of there are more than one, it will be going to only one of them. Okay, the sum payable must be certain. Okay, again it has to be definitely mentioned. The bill must contain in order to pay money only. Okay, and it has to comply with the formalities as regards date, consideration, stamps, etc. Okay, next one is check. Check, in a sense, I think don't have to. Uh, I think everyone is aware of, and has made dealing with the checks. So don't have to explain too much about this. But still, a check is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. Okay, on demand, the uh, check, it is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker. Okay, in case if you're it depends on what type of banks check you are using. So they'll be they on demand, it will be paid, the money will be paid on demand. Okay, okay, it is always drawn on some bank, and the features are, it is always drawn on some bank, and check is always payable on demand, and maybe authenticated by the handwritten signature or by the digital signature. Okay, maybe written on a paper, or it may be in the electronic form also. Okay. Next one is holder and holder in due course. In a sense, if a person is entitled to the possession of a negotiable instrument in his own name, he will be the holder. Okay. If a person is in possession of the negotiable instrument in his own name, he will be the holder. And uh, what is required is a right to possession. A person, a right to possession, the same cannot be called the holder. Hmm. Just a minute. Okay. Uh, okay. If someone, if it gets, wrongfully, someone is holding it wrongfully, who is not entitled to the possession of the negotiable instrument, he is not the holder. I mean, if he has possessing it, if he has possessed it wrongfully, and he is not entitled to the possession. Uh, okay, that's the basic difference of it. And parties to the negotiable instrument and their liability are like, the parties are uh, maker and drawer, drawee, acceptor, acceptor for honor, payee, endorser, endorsee, holder, holder in due course. So these are the parties to the negotiable instrument. uh, Okay, so maker is a person who makes promissory note. Okay, who signs an instrument which contains an unconditional undertaking by him to pay a certain sum of money, is known as the maker of the promissory note. Okay, the person who makes the promissory note. And next, a drawer, in a sense, the maker of a bill of exchange or check is called the drawer. In a sense, whoever is making the bill of exchange or check is called the drawer. And draw, in a sense, in a bill of exchange or check, the person who has been directed to pay the amount is known as the drawee. In a sense, drawee is always a bank here, and drawer is the person who writes and issues the check. Okay, if you are writing a check for your friend, you'll be the drawer. And the bank, from, if you are using a certain type of bank, private or public, the bank will be the drawee. And acceptor, in the bills of exchange, the person who accepts the bill, in a sense, exchange the drawer, order a certain drawee to pay a certain sum of money, his accent to the bill, which he does generally by writing the word accepted on the bill. Okay, so the next, payee, in a sense, the person in whose favor negotiable instrument is drawn or made, is known as payee, in a sense. Or if you're giving a check to your friend, and if he is withdrawing the cash, get paid, will be uh, the payee, and to whom it will be paid. Okay, and endorser, in a sense, the person who transfers the rights. to another person. Okay, if the holder of the negotiable instruments wants to transfer his rights to another person, it will be called as endorser. So and endorsee, to whom or to whose favor he has endorsed the bill, that person will become the endorsee. And holder in due course, I just told you, the person who possesses the bill, he'll be the holder, and the person who possesses in the due course, he will be the holder. I mean, it has to be in good faith, and before maturity, is a holder is in due course. Okay, before maturity, the person who possesses it, he'll be called as a holder in due course. Okay, and there are liabilities to the parties. Okay, in certain cases that there are with respect to maker's liability and acceptor's liability of the drawer, liability of the endorser, liability of the drawer of the check. Okay, these things are all involved in the with respect to the parties, what they are liable to do in case of dishonoring of the bill, or in case of dishonoring of the check. For example, in certain cases, the checks will be dishonored by bank. Like cases in which a banker is bound to justify in dishonoring customers' check. Certain times they will be justifying. I mean, the banker will be correct for dishonoring check, and in what circumstances that arises, and in what circumstances the banks will reject the or dishonor the customer's check. That will see, in a sense of when the customers uh, countermands the payment, when the drawee of the check countermands the payment, in a sense, I mean, when there are no sufficient funds, cases when there are no sufficient funds, and funds not properly applicable to the checks, there are funds not properly applicable to the checks, and checks not properly presented. If the check is not properly presented, and notice of customer's death, in case of the bank coming to know that the customer has been died, and still his check, someone else comes and present, in order to draw the money in his account, from his account. In that case, the banks will dishonor the check, and when customer becomes insolvent, when there is no money at all, and when the customer become insolvent, in that case, the banks will dishonor the check. And also, when the customer's insanity or lunacy comes to the notice of the banker, in that case, and on receipt of court's orders, prohibiting payment, when the court orders for prohibiting the payment in that case, and also when the check is post dated or stale. Okay, if the check is post dated, in that case also it will be dishonored. Okay, so that's with the negotiable instruments. I mean, if you want to learn a bit more about negotiable instruments, whether promissory note, bills of exchange, or checks, please uh, go through our SLM. And tomorrow, I mean, I'll just, I think we have another 5 minutes. I'm trying to cover as much as possible. So tomorrow will be, I'll be explaining about Companies Act 2013. If possible, I'll just cover it for 5 minutes. Uh, here, uh, okay, so okay, so without the PPT presentation, I think you will not be able to see. And okay, so I'll just close the, so we have another two classes left, I think, tomorrow. So there will be two classes from 3 to 4. I mean, yes, 3 to 4, and also from 5 to 6. Okay, so there I'll be covering, most of the, important aspects as per the, requirement of the subjects for you to understand. I'll, brief the main important concepts of, IT Act is also there. Information Technology Act 2000, and also the Companies Act 2013. So I'll be tomorrow. I'll try to cover and complete as much as possible. Okay, Companies Act 2013 and uh, Information Technology Act 2000. Okay, so. Uh, and once again, I suggest you all to please go through the SLM and also through the reference books. From there, you can get a lot more in-depth understanding of the subject, understanding of the concepts, understanding of the basic, most of the concepts, and most of the cases in which uh, the main basic purpose of the law is to protect the innocent. Okay, so in that case, what are the duties, rights, and liabilities? Duties and rights available, and what are they are liable to? All these things will be uh, understood in you can understand in detail. Okay, so with this, I'll finish today's class, so that probably the next person will be taking the class. Okay, so I hope everyone is finishing as early and as per uh, on time. So okay, thank you all.